It's done. Five-star Will Riley will be playing his basketball in Champaign next year. Locked on Illini. Let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is a great day to be an Illini fan, and thank you for making Locked On Illini your first listen every single day. Reminder, we're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast. If you'd like to support this channel, won't cost you a thing. All I ask is hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, and we can kind of collectively celebrate days like this. A day we've been waiting for I feel like a couple of weeks now. Five-star Will Riley has decided to commit to Brad Underwood and the University of Illinois. It seems like he's ultimately picked us over the Kentucky Wildcats. This is kind of what Orlando Antigua, that hiring meant. So a lot of credit to him for bringing Riley into the fold. I'm talking about Riley real quick. I just want to talk about how big of a recruit this is for Illinois. I really like the team that we have coming into next year, especially if you've been watching the show. You know that I think we have about a top 4, top 5-ish team, with the idea that we could probably contend for a national championship the year after. But looking over the roster, one facet of the team that's kind of missing, in my opinion at least, was just a pure scorer. We didn't have a guy like we knew Terrence Shannon was going to be last year, who could throw in 20 points a game on any given night. Now, I'm not trying to set the expectations of Riley that high. Of course, he's a freshman. And I mean, at 6'8", 180 pounds, I've talked about how I do think he's going to need some work with Fletch in the weight room before he's able to play meaningful minutes for the Illini. But the skill and the talent is unquestionable. The minute he steps foot on Champaign, he's going to be the best purely talented scorer that we're going to have on our team. We're talking about 3-level scoring. He can drive to the rim, he's got a good mid-range shot, and he can score from 3. His fit into the small forward spot, if that's what he ultimately does, if he's going to be the starter, again, I don't know that yet. I think we'll probably hear from Brad Underwood and find out how the summer practices are going, and we'll kind of get a vibe whether he's going to be starting over Ty, over Trey White, and some of the other guys we already have. But what it does is bring into the fold a trait that this team was certainly lacking. Will Riley is going to be an NBA player. And even if you're not a scout, even if you're not one to watch high school tape, watch his tape on YouTube, and you can see why the NBA is so high on Will Riley, and why more than likely he's probably a one and done this year. Now, I know some of you have concerns about whether this is going to rock the team chemistry for this year. And I mean, I understand it, but I do think the upside of bringing Will Riley into that locker room is absolutely worth it. In particular, if he develops, but decides for whatever reason to stay for a sophomore year, now you're talking about a team which I'm even more so confident could compete for that national championship. I mean, folks, we're going to have Morez Johnson, KJ, and Will Riley as our incoming freshmen to next year's team. That is a freshman class that I would put up against almost anybody. They all complement each other well. We have a playmaking guard, we have a scoring wing, and we have a grinding, physical big man. Those 3 can be the cornerstone of a future Fighting Illini team. And the fact that we're going to get them all in Champaign this fall is incredible news. Now, folks outside the Illinois circle are not going to like this, in particular our neighbors to the east. But I genuinely think that in that locker room, Illinois might have the most talented team in the Big Ten now. That includes Purdue, who, everyone projects to win the Big Ten Conference. That includes Indiana, who has spent a boatload of NIL funds this offseason to try to right the ship for Mike Woodson. But I genuinely think when you take a look at the prospects that we have and pure talent, I know the team is young. The team is younger, at least, but it also, the talent level is even higher than it was last year. And I thought that the talent level of our team was higher even before we got a Will Riley type of player. Now, adding what might end up being the highest ranked player that Illinois has ever gotten raises that floor considerably. Maybe not raises the floor, raises the ceiling considerably. Again, I projected us to be in about top 4, top 5 in the Big Ten Conference. And I do think that it's going to take some time for the team to gel. Again, when you're fielding a roster with 9 new players, of course, people aren't going to know how to play with each other right off the bat. But I trust Brad Underwood. I think there's no better adjuster when it comes to like a coach who can kind of suit his game plan around his talent. I think Brad and the staff is going to figure out something that works. And so by the time Big Ten season comes rolling around, I think this team could be ready to make a serious challenge towards that title. Would I consider ourselves a favorite? No, probably not. Again, because of the youth. And, we have to give respect and credit to the folks out in West Lafayette. And we'll see what the other teams do. I'm not as high on Indiana as some of the pundits might be, but I have more of a prove it attitude with the folks in Bloomington. But Illinois is on a different front. Again, I think Brad Underwood has shown me his willingness and his ability to adapt his talent adapt his game plan around his talent. And now we've brought in arguably the most talented player in Illinois history. It's a fantastic time to be an Illini fan. And right after this, I'll talk about how this whole process came to be. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and to level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only. Available to U.S. customers. Okay, so how did this happen and what does it mean? If you were with me a couple weeks ago, when we were able to get Kasparas Jakušonis, thought our team was pretty much done. But I was told that there was whispers that Illinois was communicating back and forth with Will Riley, mainly because of the relationship that was already built with Orlando Antigua when he was at Kentucky. Will Riley was very interested in becoming a Kentucky Wildcat under Calipari, and that's because of his relationship with Antigua. So when I made my claim, I did, when I was done recording, I did talk to a couple people, and they're like, no, I think we're going to be bringing in one more guy. I didn't think much of it, but to do my due diligence for both this show and Illini Cast, my other show, I wanted to kind of dig into it a little bit more. And from what I had gathered, that at the time, the Arizona Wildcats, who he had already gone to visit a couple months ago and who probably had the longest standing relationship with Will Riley, they were feeling pretty confident. And unlike some of the other teams that were listed, Kentucky, Arkansas, Alabama, Arizona was a team that could offer them playing time this upcoming season. So I think in my first mention of Will Riley, I talked about them being probably the strongest contender, or at least opponent for Illinois to get his services for next season. Now, Will Riley last week decided to visit Illinois first. Then he visited Lexington, Kentucky, and then he visited, I believe it was Alabama was his third visit. Now, I didn't put much credence into the Alabama visit just because that team is it's stacked. It's loaded. that's a team where I just don't know if he would have been able to find the minutes that he probably wants to play, especially if he's considering reclassifying. The advantage of that is to probably try to make the NBA a year early. And so he wouldn't be getting much floor time at Alabama. But at Kentucky, Kentucky could have used a player like him. Now, would he be starting? I don't think so. I don't know the Kentucky roster that well, but I do listen to some Kentucky content out there, including the Locked On Kentucky podcast, which is fantastic. You guys should definitely check it out. He does a great job giving us a scouting report of Will Riley. So I knew Kentucky, but, at the same time, Kentucky is Kentucky. They are arguably the blue blood of all blue bloods in college basketball. So no matter how confident you're feeling leaving Champaign, you knew that a visit to Kentucky could always change things around. Now, let me circle back to what I just said, how the Illinois staff felt after Will Riley left. And there's only one way to describe it. Very good. I think the staff itself felt like they hit a home run with the Will Riley visit. I didn't really see others outside, whether it's the other insiders or the recruiting services, show much love for the Illini, but the coaching staff itself seemed to really think that they did a good job, and they thought they were absolutely in it. A couple days ago this week, I started receiving word that the Arizona guys started feeling like they might not be in it, whether that despite the fact that they had such a close relationship with Will, it sounded like Illinois came over the top when it came to not just playing time. I mean, as I mentioned before, Illinois can offer him a minutes and potentially a starting spot, but also Illinois offered, and again, this is according to the Arizona insider, more NIL than any of the other teams that are competing here. And we'll circle back to that later. So Arizona felt essentially like they're out. So that really brought it down to Kentucky and Illinois, which anytime you're going up against Kentucky, you can't exactly feel confident. And I wasn't up until a couple of days ago. And the reason I was confident is because of the vibes I was getting from the folks at Illinois. They really felt confident that when it comes to what Will Riley was looking for next season, and that's a combination of playing time, development, and NIL, nobody matched what Illinois could provide. And now we see ultimately Will Riley has decided to commit to the Illini. And I just think that this was a fit that was ideal for both parties. Illinois could use a wing player with his scoring ability, and Will Riley could use a platform, a team that can really accentuate his scoring talents. I'll get into this more a little later on a future episode. I just wanted to come on live as soon as the news broke. This is exciting times. We, as Illini fans, have a lot to look forward to. Again, this class of Morez Johnson, Jacques Jonas, and now Will Riley is probably the best class we've had in a very long time, if not the best class we've ever had. And so in future episodes, we will explore potential lineups. I've already talked about who might be leaving, but we can kind of deep dive into that as well. But for now, thank you for joining me for this short abbreviated episode. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you excited about Will Riley joining us? Are you worried about the chemistry fit? What kind of player do you think he can be in his freshman year? Do you think he can make it to his sophomore season? Do you consider Illinois a potential Big Ten winning team this year? I'd love to hear back from you. Again, before you leave, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm trying to produce shows for you every single day, and I ask for nothing in return. Basically, you hitting that like and subscribe button shows this show to other folks who might be interested in Illini content. We'll be back here a little bit later for another episode. Until then, ILL. Love you guys.